Welcome to the Well Life Podcast, where we connect with individuals on what we have determined to be the 8 dimensions of wellness.
Yeah, today we have Adam Ross on, owner of AR Nutrition, helps people work with their body composition and all their wellness and health goals through diet, right? So thanks for being on, Adam.
Yeah, thank you to be here. Thank you for being here, man. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to doing a lot with you. So we're excited for this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Right back at you guys. It's an honor to be on here. It's a pleasure to talk with you guys, and I'm looking forward to a good one today.
Also, our first virtual podcast here. So you're bridging some gaps for us. Where we'll be able to do a lot after this as well.
Yep. Groundbreaking stuff. That's great.
Yeah, man. So give us a little intro about yourself, right? Obviously, registered dietitian. You're building your nutrition presence, right? Worked with a multitude of clientele, lots of different businesses that you've kind of crossed over with to help them out and instill your nutritional mindset. So, but off the top, what do you do, right? And how did you get into what you do?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with how I got into it. I'll try not to make it too long and too boring, but I was born and raised in Western Canada. Grew up in a small town in Western Canada, and I was a big hockey guy, just like everybody from around where I'm from. So I was actually lucky enough to get a scholarship, Division I scholarship, to go play hockey in the United States. So I ended up out around the Boston area. I had showed up to school that year as a freshman, pretty confident in my game and in my athletic abilities and whatnot. And I just underestimated, I guess like the type of shape and the type of athleticism that I needed to play Division I sports. So my first year went pretty, not well, we'll just say that. My first year was kind of a mess, and I was extremely unhappy with how things went my first year there at school. So I kind of made just kind of a declaration to myself. I'm a very competitive guy. I was like, you know what, this year was bad. I was not ready. I was not athletic enough. I was not big enough, fast enough, strong enough. And I'm 6'4", 220 at this point. So I wasn't a small guy. But I also wasn't physically, prepared enough to play at the level that I needed to play. So believe it or not, that's kind of where nutrition started to take shape for me. So I went home that summer back to Canada, and I was like, you know what, I'm in the gym, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not seeing the progress I necessarily want to see. So why don't I just make some choices or some different food choices, some adjustments to my diet? And it was literally total meathead, I was reading bodybuilding.com and just uneducated. It was a very uneducated approach to dietary improvements, right? So basically what I did is I just cut out some cheese and some dairy, and I ate a little bit more carbohydrate and stuff like that, and was training hard through the summer. And I just made this massive jump. My body composition completely changed in a 3-month span. And it really just opened my eyes to okay, we're onto something here. There's more to this eating right thing than I even understand, right? And it was my body composition, it was my energy levels, it was just, I felt great, all these different things, and that's really what turned me onto it. So I kind of just got obsessed with it from there, and it took shape. I played 4 years at school. I played 2 years professionally afterward. I always, was huge into my nutrition and my training and making sure that, I always wanted to say that I gave it everything I had. So at the end of the day, when all was said and done with my sports, I never wanted to say that I didn't try hard enough or didn't give it my best effort. So that was a big reason there. And then honestly, after hockey, I was kind of lost. I spent a couple of years searching for what to do with myself, and that's where dietetics came into play. So I decided to go back to school, re-enroll to become a registered dietitian, and that's kind of how things kicked off. And then from there, I've been very fortunate to, I landed a really cool job at the University of St. John's in Queens, and I got to work with their Division I athletes there. And I've connected with some really awesome people in the fitness space, yourselves and Don Saladino. And from there, it's opened up a lot of doors to work with a lot of incredible people, from pro athletes to famous actors and actresses to, businessmen and women and people of all different shapes and sizes and ages. And the experience has been incredible so far. So yeah, that's kind of how I got there.
Yeah,
awesome.
I really appreciate that story, because I was also an ex-college athlete, and when you don't have any guidance on kind of what the nutrition should be, I played football, so really it was just kind of pack on the pounds, right? So you can be strong out there, so you're not getting pushed around. but there was no other shaping kind of around that. Yeah, you knew about protein, but there was no other guidance, right? Of what should this actually look like, how much protein versus how much carbs. So I love that story of being able to transition from an athlete and then right, be able to optimize your nutrition as an athlete, and then also taking that into your life post athlete career. What's your approach now for, I guess, your base approach for your clientele?
Yeah, absolutely. So now it's really it's just kind of grown over time. So when I first started, I feel like I worried about a lot of little kind of minutia stuff, and the longer I spend in this field and the more I learn, and the more people I coach, I've really taken what's the word I'm looking for here? Like a bit of a minimalistic approach to things, where basically what I'm trying to create for people is the simplest framework possible for which that they can have high level nutrition. So I was listening to a really cool podcast the other day with the Toronto Raptors. He's their sports psychologist, and he was talking about if the more rules that there are, the harder it is to follow, right?
Yep.
So in the nutrition space, what happens is that there's so many rules out there now, right? Like it's so easy to go through into your Instagram and don't fast until 4. Don't eat fruit after 2 p.m. Don't eat vegetables because they're killing you. Don't eat meats because they're killing you. Don't eat vegetarian because it'll give you mental health issues.
Yeah.
Like there's so many don'ts, right? There's so many rules about what not to do. So what I try to do is take a very high level minimalistic approach to things. So I like to just make sure we're focusing on what are proven through the course of the entirety of time here to be the most impactful things on somebody's health, somebody's body composition. And that to me is, obviously having a caloric level that supports your goals, right? So no matter what your goal is, there's going to be a good amount of calories that we can consume to make sure that we're supporting that goal. Making sure that we have ample protein intake so that we can support a lot of different functions within the body, lean muscle being a huge one of them, and satiety. And then trying to build around that with as much micronutrition as possible, right? So that's just where a high quality, whole food, plant focused diet comes into play. And in my opinion, and this is what I do now with that simple 3 rule approach. The underlying, if you peel back the layers of that, is extremely high level when you want to get down to it, but it's extremely simple to carry out. Mm-hmm. So it's basically, like from everybody that I've seen, whether it's just a body comp thing they just want to lose body fat, gain muscle, or if they have health issues, those are still the 3 main things nutritionally that we can do to make a really solid impact on people. And so that's what we do, right? I just try to keep it very simple, but the underlying bit is that we can make it as intricate as we need to make it just through those 3, that 3-step approach.
Yeah. I think that's really good, because I actually just saw, kind of prior to coming on here, this Cornell research that showed they asked a population of people how many nutrition choices you think you make in a day, and their response was 15, but it's really about 220, right? The size of your plate, what you should eat, where you should eat it, what it should actually be. But to give just simple guidance kind of helps people, right? That's all you need, just kind of simple guidance, and they can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I was going to say there's such a, just going back to what you said first in that about the different diet types, is you see the social media push of, people making full livings off of whether it's carnivore, vegan-based coaching, right, all plant-based.
Liver.
Eating certain subsectors of certain, organs, animal, whatever you want to look at it, selling supplements to coordinate with that, or coordinates with that, or pushing brands and companies, right? And it gets so confusing because it's, all right, what's your motive here? And it's something that I've seen, like, all the time, right? People at a nutrition shop I used to work in here in the gym with us speaking to people, what diet should I follow? Oh, I want to lose weight, so I should cut carbs. It's like, no, you're lifting, so we want to have a good balance of carbohydrates. Okay, then what do I do? Because I feel like I gain weight on that, right? It's like people go to the extremes because they feel like it's satisfying to do that big change for themselves, and they feel like they're covering the most ground at once. And it's like, where's the sustainability in that, right? So it's great to hear from a base level of simplification of just eat these whole foods, base it around protein, get your nutrient dense foods in, right, and good whole food carbohydrate sources, and that's pretty much it. And now, right, go out and look for these foods instead of putting yourself in such a restrictive box that creates almost the bounce back of ruining the diet and gaining back the weight, or not being able to stick to something for an extended period of time. Because that's really what it comes down to, is like lifestyle, right? And how well your lifestyle is in coordinates with your goals.
Yeah, I think that, and you might be able to test the kind of the psychology of your clientele, because we have to have a lot of conversations just about diet in itself is always super restrictive, right? That's what people kind of think of. It's about kind of being restrictive and taking something out, taking something away from myself, as opposed to just diet being what you're consuming, right? So kind of just like trying to change this mentality about what your diet actually is, as opposed to a diet being you going on something that's restrictive to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And even just the term diet, I think, like, people don't think of that as like a lifelong thing, right? Like, it's a short-lived experience, right? Like, oh well, I'm going on a diet. It doesn't hold up in like with the sustainability and the longevity aspect of things, right? So that's exactly what I do. Is like I'm trying to build lifestyles. I'm trying to build routines. I'm trying to build habits. I'm trying to build sustainability within people's day to day. And I was having a conversation with a client this morning about this, and it's like, most people are doing some pretty good things in their day to day, but where they go wrong is that they feel like everything has to be perfect all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And then as soon as things don't go perfectly all the time, then they've failed and they've done something bad, and then they're like, oh well, screw it, I'll just go back to what I was doing, right? So what I really like to do with people is help them understand that, like, listen, not every bit of your diet is bad here, right? There's a lot of good things that you're doing. So let's work together to identify what are those great things that you're doing for your body, and then let's do more of those, right? And then what we'll also uncover over through time here is, okay, what things are you doing that are maybe not in alignment with your goals, right? Mm-hmm. And I never say bad or anything like that. I always talk about, is this in alignment with what you want to do for yourself, right? If you want to create a healthier lifestyle, if you want to live a more wellness-focused life, if you want to decrease body fat mass, increase lean mass, increase energy levels, increase brain function, whatever it is, then we need to eat more of the foods that are in alignment with that. And we have to understand, when we're eating foods that aren't in alignment with that, how much of that kind of stuff we can get away with, right? So what I really like to do with people is I meet them where they're at. Right, and it's like, okay, this is all the great stuff. Let's do more of this. Now, this is the stuff that we need to work on. How can we make adjustments, right? So it might just be like, if you're going into a meal, and I'll just make up something super easy. You're doing, I don't know, 1 scoop of protein with a full cup of oatmeal and a banana and some blueberries, right? Maybe that is extremely heavily too high on the carb side for you. So maybe all we need to do is, we can keep that meal, but what we need to do is go 2 scoops of protein, go with half a cup of oatmeal, and skip the banana and throw some nuts on top of that or something like that. And we've got a much more balanced and well-maintained approach there. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do, rather than just saying like, yeah, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat that, don't eat that. And then everybody it just becomes very daunting. Instead, I like to kind of meet people where they're at, and then we just try to optimize what they're doing. And if we can help them understand that what they're doing is not a total disaster, and we just need to make some adjustments, it takes a lot of pressure off for people.
I love that. So, and just so kind of everyone knows, so we know as well, how do you go about servicing your clients, right? So they understand these. What are they getting from you in order to be able to have these check-ins, have these meetings? What's your service model for them?
Yeah, so kind of full service. So I'm not the guy that's just going to make like a meal plan, throw a meal plan out there and kind of see you later, right? Like, I'm big on the accountability, on the support, and I'm huge on knowledge. Like, I'm huge on the education piece of things. Like, I cannot stress enough how much power there is in knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. And just understanding what foods are going to fit your goals best, and what foods are going to, suit your body best and make you feel best, and all of these different things. So I really push people pretty hard to learn while they're working with me, right? To get a better understanding of their food choices and get a better understanding of, the specific things that are going to make them feel best. And then from there, they can start to build things out themselves, and they don't have to rely on me to tell them what to eat all the time or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing we focus on, is the education piece. And then for me, it's the support and the accountability, right? So just, the weekly check-ins, the weekly coaching calls, and all of these different things that I do, because then that gives people the opportunity to, whatever, bounce any questions, talk about concerns, anything that gets in the way. A lot of it is us just kind of talking through people's day-to-day, right? It's like, oh, well, this happened this week and I didn't know how to navigate it. And then, you've got a group of people, like you've got me providing feedback, and then there's others within the group too that provide really cool feedback as well. So that's kind of how I go about it, right? So full service model, literally just, I say it's a personalized program. So what people need, I will provide basically.
That's great.
Gotcha.
I just try to help people succeed, man. That's pretty much the extent of it.
Cool.
I mean, you're the people that we need out there, right?
Yeah,
Because I
man.
know
Yeah.
on the other side of it, from a nutrition standpoint, we see there's a lot of people trying to provide nutrition advice. So to have someone that's kind of in there for the long-term benefit of the client and not just trying to sell meal plans is important for the industry.
Yeah. Let's take a step back into kind of your life. I know, being a former athlete as well in college, I probably gained 55 pounds of mass in college, just between lifting
Wow.
and eating and just like eating everything in my dining hall. Tried to play baseball, didn't happen, but then I was just like, what can I do to my body in the gym, eating as many calories as I can, but not like really dissecting anything, right? Just like picking a bunch of protein, carbs, fats, anything I get my hands on. But something that I kind of have seen, right, I'm sure you've seen it a ton too, with ex-athletes, specifically you hear about it with football players or linemen, right, that are substantial playing weights, trying to maintain, and then they're done. And they end up not knowing what to do. They don't have a workout routine, and they don't really know what to do from a diet standpoint because they're used to eating 5,000 calories a day because they need to be 330 pounds. What were some of the changes, if you can revert back to even yourself, right, being the hockey player you were, and then making that whole transition to saying, wait a second, I see nutrition changes my body for performance, but now you're out of college, or you're trying to get into the world and work with people. You go from being the athlete to being the teacher almost now. So what was that transition like for you in that whole, like, I don't know, what was the aha moment you had, or some type of big transition, right, to get there?
Yeah, 100%. So personally, I've stayed as much as, I'll tell you this right now. I'm washed up a long time ago. So
Nah, we've seen you.
I'm far from an athlete at this point, but I like to say that I like to look like I can do stuff if I need to, but I really probably can't.
Yeah.
I look the part. I don't know if you threw me back out on the ice or even onto a track or something. I don't know how well I would do, but so I've actually stayed pretty like performance focused with my training. I train hard. I train as often as I can. I love to challenge myself with like high intensity stuff. I love to push weights around. So I've actually been pretty lucky where like I've definitely adjusted my nutrition approach over time to be more nutrient dense, definitely a little bit less on the carbohydrate side, just because I'm not as active as I used to be when I was playing in college or especially professionally. But I'll tell you, so I've been lucky where I haven't had to make any like enormous adjustments for myself, because I've kind of stuck with it, if you will. Like I'm still pretty much the same composition that I was when I quit playing hockey 11 years ago or something. Yeah, so
That's impressive.
I'm lucky there. Yeah, I've been lucky. Like I feel like part of it's like genetics, part of it's like I do put in a lot of hard work, and I'm probably about 95% on point with my diet, which I would just say like I'm lucky because I took the opportunity to learn enough about nutrition where it's not difficult for me. Like I can make the decisions that I need to make because I understand what I'm trying to achieve, kind of thing.
It's also
right?
what you do too,
Yeah.
So
You're living it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I've always been a lead by example kind of guy. I'm not gonna be the person who sits on my ass all day and thinks I know about things that I've never done, right? So but I will tell you this though, my big aha moment, especially coming from being an athlete at a fairly high level there, it was when I realized that not everybody, and this was like my transition more into like general population and just working with people who wanted to be fitter, stronger, healthier. I realized not everybody wants to have a six-pack. It was literally a real eye-opener for me, because when I first started nutrition, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be this nutritionist. Everybody's going to look just like me, and everyone's going to be shredded, and like And then you realize it's like most people don't even want that. That's not their goal. Most people, especially once you leave like college and you leave athletics and you've got a family and you're working, 8 to 10 hours a day, and we're New York based guys, so like commuting another 2 or whatever's going on. Most people just want to be able to show up as their best selves at work, show up for their families, be able to stay active, not have to worry about health issues and backaches and being whatever, just being in a body composition that they're not personally comfortable with in terms of their own self-confidence. And when I realized that, right, that like, okay, not everybody has the same goals as me, I think that was a real game changer, because I started to look at things in a much different way. And instead of being more rigid and being like, no, this is what we need to do, right, I really started to ask a lot more questions and listen a lot more and understand, like, what does this person need from me? This has nothing to do with what I want. I want everybody that signs up for my program to come out with a six-pack ripped, but that's just not what everybody wants.
That's good,
right?
proof of concept.
Like, right, and that's where I think I made the biggest transition, was like, yeah, just listening more, trying to understand where exactly they're at, and being able to meet them there, and being able to really like help them, celebrate some really big wins for those for specific people, where, like I said, for some people, just waking up and having more energy is literally all they want and all they need, and that's a massive win for them, and they're happy with it. So that's what we roll with, right? So yeah, that was really the biggest thing for me coming out of like the athletics world, where everything is kind of forced, right? It's like your coach is telling you do this, your strength coach is telling you do that, you're trying to be, I mean, I know they probably don't do this anymore because of like everybody's all like, it's a little bit more politically correct nowadays, but like back in our day, we had like Fat Club, right? Like if you were above 12% fat, body fat, you got put in Fat Club and stuff, right? You had to stay
12% is nothing.
Yeah, so like that's the thing, right? So then you leave that performance world, and it's like, all right, like you're not throwing anybody in Fat Club anymore. You're certainly not even mentioning in that. So it really does just become about understanding that not everybody has the same goals, and just trying to help people achieve exactly what it is they want. And when you can do that, people feel really heard. They feel like you respect what they're trying to do, and you get a really nice feedback from them, and you really get a really nice effort from them as well.
Yeah, it's great. I think that all comes back to kind of, as you mentioned, it's about lifestyle. Right, you're not trying to be restrictive to someone because you're trying to get them abs, and now they're unhappy, and they're unhappy at work, and they're unhappy with their spouse because, right, and they're unhappy with their kids. They can't do anything. They have bad energy levels because they're not eating something that if they just had a little bit of potatoes, right, they would feel a little bit better, and their energy levels would be better, and they could work out, and all of that, right, starts to compound on itself. As you mentioned, kind of stuff about how your clients feel, and how you listen to them. Do you have any stories, as we kind of like to bring up just the improvement of individuals' overall well-being and their wellness? Any stories of your clientele kind of going through and transcending kind of the way you did, right? After working with you, being able to kind of feel a little bit better about themselves, have better stories with their families, better stories at work.
Yeah, any like top stories, like any cool ones that you hold on to?
Oh, totally. Yeah, there's some really cool ones. I mean, there's some good ones that are like health related, right? Where you literally, like, I'm not trying to, but when you can bring people's blood sugar, blood pressure, triglycerides, cholesterol levels and things down.
Yeah, real factors.
Overall markers, yeah.
Like, like that's putting years back on people's lives. And again, I'll say they do all the work, right? Like I put together the plan, I support, they do all the work, they do all the eating, they do all the exercising, they got to maintain it and manage it and stuff. So I do have a couple of really cool stories like that, where some people have made some really incredible just like health changes in their lives, that it's improving their quality of life, and it's literally putting years back on, which is really a cool thing to experience with people, right? And then a couple that come to my mind. Well, number one, I always tell this story because this guy's one of my favorite guys, because he's the exact opposite. He's like not a workout guy, not in the gym, smoker, like you name it, right? And he worked in the music industry. So he used to roadie for like Metallica and all these bands like this. And he got into like sound. So anyway, he was working in the music industry, living in a hotel literally for like 9 months. I worked with him. He lived in a hotel in San Francisco the entire time. He bought a hot plate from like Target, and he actually used to go to Target and buy groceries once a week. And this guy was literally working like he worked like a music schedule. So he'd be up at 6, 7 in the morning, and he would work until 1, 2 a.m. Like the schedule this guy kept was insane. So like he had every single thing working against him. Like he shouldn't have been as successful as he was, but you know, again, that's kind of the thing where like we just worked through it. We created a plan. He was very consistent with his meals and stuff, and the guy lost 50 pounds, and that was his goal. His goal was to lose 50, and he lost the 50. And this was, I mean, probably 5 years ago, and he's kept it off, and we've stayed in touch. So that was a really cool one where like that just goes to show you like with a little bit of will and like a little bit of strategy, like you can get things done, right? Like he's cooking meals on a hot plate in a hotel and then having to eat at restaurants the remainder of the time, and he's getting no sleep and he's getting no exercise or anything like that. So that was a really cool one. And then just one other one is a lady that I'm currently working with named Michelle, and she just was not a fitness person at all, right? And alcohol was a big thing for her, just like socially, right? Mm-hmm. And also she had just like these, I guess, like underlying thoughts of like she didn't like to exercise because she didn't like to get sweaty, and she didn't like to push herself in this way. And I remember like me and her had a couple really good kind of discussions at the start, and she just has totally flipped her mindset. And she's currently down like 35 pounds. It's funny. Her goal was 150 pounds. She had never been that in her entire adult life. And she just hit it like 2 days ago. Wow. So she got the 150, but she was like, you know what? Like, I'm at my goal weight, but I don't feel like I'm at my goal body yet. And I'm like, all right, there we go, right? Like now you get it, right? Like everybody wants to put this arbitrary number on like their best body, and it's just false, right? Like there is no, you can't put a weight to your ideal body composition, right? So now she's shifted her focus, and she trains like 5-6 days a week. She's in a training program. Her goal is to do a pull-up. She goes in the garage. She has a pull-up bar. Like even like in the middle of work, she goes out like 3 different times a day trying her pull-ups. So she's just 100% changed her entire mindset and changed her entire lifestyle and changed her entire outlook on what fitness and nutrition is. It used to be a form of punishment for her, and now it's something that she's really having a lot of fun with and really enjoying. And she says all the time, right? Like, I can still do the things that I like to do. I just have to adjust the amount, like how I do them, right? Mm-hmm. Like she still eats the food she likes. She'll still have a drink once in a while and stuff, but it's just picking and choosing her battles a little bit better. So she's one that's just made like a total 180 in terms of like lifestyle and mindset and all that stuff. So that's a really cool one that I'm having a lot of fun working with right now.
Wow. That's impressive, because that's, those stories are almost the epitome of what we at least preach in like an ideal sense, right? And like what we're all trying to instill in people in a sense, because I feel like most people are built on resistance toward fitness, towards changing their diet, right? They want what they want, but it's like their habits don't match their ambitions or whatever they're after, and whatever they think it takes to get there. But that's special when you can have clients like that are really, really like in it. You can see their mentality change, their physicality changes along with it. It's tough because it might take a month or two to really start to see some real concrete results. And it's such an instant gratified world sometimes for people, right? That's what they're in search of. So it's that patience, but that's so special, and it's like that's the wellness approach in and of itself, is accepting it and trying to slowly make the change to really live it, That's interesting. I don't really have much else to say about it, but that's like the epitome of it, right? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the focus of it, right? Just as people in this industry, is how do we get people to embody this vision of wellness, as opposed to just restricting the diet or just coming to eat well and working out. It's about how do you change your overall lifestyle, right? How do you have fitness and nutrition be important in your life and be something that's just a part of your habits and part of your healthy habits.
Yeah, and also hearing that from a guy who's in the music industry, a hot plate in his hotel room, that's like also the epitome of could have every excuse in the world, but didn't make an excuse, right? It's like you have your 9 to 5, you might have to get to work early, you got a couple of kids, it's like, yeah, okay. What else though, right? What else are other people doing? That guy, right? Just like reaching for it and making it happen.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
absolutely. Yeah, and just to like when you touch on that too, right? Like that's one thing I really like to kind of set the tone with on like the people that I work with. Like I'm lucky, right? Like if you want to call it that, like I'm lucky in this world of wellness because like I'm a little older. I'm 37 years old. I don't have kids. You know, I've created my own online business, so I work from home, which affords me at least the opportunity to make some meals and stuff. Doesn't mean I got a lot of time on my hands. It keeps me very busy, but at least I'm sitting right beside the kitchen. So it's easy for somebody with 4 kids and the job and everything to say, well, hey, I've got 4 kids, I've got a job. It's easy for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not denying that it might be, but this is this is why I talk about environment a lot. This is an environment that I've created for myself, right? And this is something that I've prioritized because I love the life of like this wellness focused lifestyle. And so just because somebody has different variables they have to work with, that's still their life.
Yep.
Okay. And I think people need to understand that where it's like, okay, great. You have a busy job and you have kids and everything like that. I totally understand that. Is that putting you in the perfect scenario to succeed at all times? No, it's maybe not, but that's the life that you have created for yourself. That's the life that you have chosen. So if you want to insert wellness into your life, then you have to prioritize that wellness somewhere. That doesn't mean that you can't go have birthday cake with your kids. That doesn't mean that you can't go have a slice of pizza on Friday night with your kids. But I'm huge on controlling everything that we can possibly control first, right? So that does mean you can't just be stopping at Starbucks every morning and getting a 500-calorie coffee and a muffin or something like that, right? Like there's areas of our lives where we just kind of write off, oh well, I'm busy and I have kids and I'm this and I'm that, and so I can't do any of it. It's like, no, you can probably do 85% of it. You're just choosing to look at it in that negative light, right? So that's one thing where I will challenge people a lot to say, like, all right, like your life is your life. Like you've got kids, like you chose to have them and whatever. Do you also want wellness in your life? Well, yeah, I do. Okay, well then how do we fit that in?
Yeah.
That's where like we're very good as human beings as being problem identifiers, but we're not great problem solvers, right? Everybody can identify the problem. They can tell you everything that's wrong with them all day long. They can identify it forever, but we never take it a step further. We don't say, okay, well, I identify that this is an issue. So how do I get around that? How do I solve that, right? And that to me is the big thing where it's like, yeah, there's a million reasons why all of us could fail every single day at this stuff, or why we don't prioritize it, why we don't put the time and the energy and attention into it. But the simple fact is that if you want to do that, you got to make it happen somehow, right? And then that's where the problem solving piece comes into play. And I do believe that there's always a solution, right?
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of thinking, a little bit of strategy, and kind of the time and the prioritization that it's going to need to solve it. But the solution will be there, right? So I work really hard with people on that aspect of things too, to understand that it's like, okay, life is life, right? Like everybody's got things, but if we want to prioritize this stuff, then we have to, and that's simple fact. It's just there can't always be excuses. Sometimes we just got to do the work,
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be effort driven, right? We have a lot of these conversations about reaching goals, and you have to have processes in place if you want to achieve this goal. So if you want to be a person that's healthy, you have to essentially live like a healthy person. So like you're mentioning there, if you go to Starbucks every day, you can't get the 500 calorie frappuccino. Maybe you get something that's a little less, and right there, that's one choice, right? That's going to be better in your overall healthy lifestyle. So it's where you have these opportunities, you have to make good choices.
Yeah, and it's almost always grabbing at the want to feel better, but people actually don't even almost know what it's like to feel and rationalize the feeling of actually feeling better, or feeling healthy, or waking up clear-minded, and not tired and not foggy, right, and not feeling lethargic and stuff. So it's an interesting, right? It's like if they just did a couple of these things for a couple of weeks, maybe they might be like, oh wow, this is totally worth it. But it's just giving themselves that chance.
Yeah, and I like your point of there's a dichotomy right between you as the role you're in and someone telling you that it's easier for you because you don't have kids and you work from home. But if you took a job where you had to commute in and you gave yourself 2 kids tomorrow, you still would prioritize the things that you prioritize, right? From a nutrition standpoint and from a fitness standpoint, you would just find smaller pockets of time to be able to get them done, and right, your snacks would be your snacks that you have to take. So it's just, how do I become this person that prioritizes these healthier items, and then I fit them into those pockets where they can fit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head where like how do you become that person, right? Because once it's in your mind, like yeah, like I again, I could be totally off, I could be totally out of my mind here saying this, but I do believe that yeah, if I mean actually we'll be going back to work with some office hours and stuff soon. So and I've done it before, right? Like I mean I've worked plenty of places before where I was out of the house and all that stuff. It's just been the last few years I've been in the house. And if you did throw some kids on top of me or whatever, like because this is ingrained in me and it is like who I am, like you said, like I would find a way, I would prioritize the time, even if it was early or late or whatever. I do believe that, would it be perfect? Would it be the same as it is as I am today? Absolutely not, right? It's not going to be that, but it doesn't have to be either. And I think that's the thing is everybody thinks it has to be some kind of a certain way, right? Oh, I need 90 minutes a day for the gym. I need an hour a day for walking. I need this, I need that. And it's like, you know what? Like, no, like we just need to figure out how you can start making better choices. Like you said, it's not about perfection. It's about growth over time. And just making these little adjustments here and there that are going to make a big impact, right? So that's the big thing that, that I always try to have people understand is that there's no perfect, right? Everybody's wellness approach is different. You guys are fit, I'm fit. We all do three totally different things, I'm sure, and there's a million fit people in the world that do things a complete opposite way that I do them or whatever, right? So I think that's the big thing is it's just about, maybe taking the pressure off of yourself to be perfect and just be an improved version of you and what you're already doing, and that is just about controlling some of your variables and making different decisions in certain areas, and a lot of those things will start to stack up really in a positive way for a lot of people, and hopefully at that point they see the value in it and they want to continue growing.
Yeah, love that. It's all true. There is no perfect. There's just the daily approach and pursuit, right? Yeah. And right, every guest we have on, we like to ask them, what is wellness to you? So we'd like you to give us your definition, right? It can be based off of anything we said, anything you want to mention, or anything you want to add to what we just talked about. What is your definition, and what is wellness kind of personally to you? How would you describe that to someone that's asking you how you approach your life?
Sure. Yeah, I got a pretty simple answer for this. Wellness to me is waking up in the morning and when your eyes open, you're happy that they did. Like that to me is just I think people chase, we want, I don't know what we're chasing. Some people are chasing different things, whatever. To me, like I am very comfortable and confident in the fact that like when I wake up, I feel good. I'm happy with myself. When I look in the mirror, I feel fine. Some days I feel great. Some days I feel like shit. But the majority of times feel pretty good about where I'm at. I don't fear for that my body's not going to be there for me when I need it. And I think that's a big wellness thing, right? Like I don't fear that if there's a steep hill in front of me this afternoon that I can't walk up it. And that's the point a lot of people are at, right? Where they feel like they can't go to the kids or to the park with their kids, or they can't run around, or they can't go out for a hike or out for a walk, or they're too sore or they're too out of shape to do certain things or whatever it might be. So to me that's wellness, right? Like wellness to me is just like you're able to go about your day. You look good and again, this is totally subjective for yourself. Like you look good, you feel good, you feel like you perform well, your energy levels are high, that type of thing. And if you can wake up every day and be like looking forward to what's in front of you, then I think you got a pretty good wellness plan figured out, right? But in my opinion, the more we pay attention to our nutrition and to our activity levels and to our stress reduction and to our sleep and to our rest and all of these different things, mitigating stressors and avoiding situations that, make us feel shitty about ourselves, like on social media and stuff. The more of that stuff we do, the more of that just simple, again, for me, everything I'm either just a really dumb guy or I just like try to keep things simple, maybe both, but to me, simple is always easiest. So that's what it is, right? If I can wake up, eyes open, put my feet on the floor in the morning and I'm like, all right, I'm excited to have this day, then to me, like, you're living a life of wellness right there, you know, because a lot of people, unfortunately, I don't think feel that way, and it kind of is, it's sad.
No, definitely. I really, I like that answer.
Yeah, I like the simplification kind of perspective you have to life. Because it's like, what are we actually after? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I will never use simple and dumb guy to describe you, just to put that out there.
Yeah.
It's every hockey coach I ever had always used the term KISS, the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I have ingrained in me, like, pretty hard, is just like, you know, and even like one of my favorite guys of all time for like self-help, if you will, is Jim Rohn. And I was looking at some of his quotes the other day, and I think it was something along the lines of like, success is just the ability to wake up and do the same couple simple things on repeat every day, or something like that, right? And it's like, to me, that's literally what it is. It's like, I got a couple things that I really like to do. They bring me a lot of joy. I get a lot of fulfillment out of them. And those are the things that I kind of focus my life around. And it's not a lot, you know, it's pretty simple in terms of, you know, maybe the way it looks, but it works for me, and that's kind of the way I like to keep it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I love it.
Well, that's really good, right? Because we just live right now in a society that doesn't feel that way, right? We talk about instant gratification, being able to jump online and seeing all these things that may make you feel lesser or not great about yourself. So being able to have gratification, feel happy within whatever the things that you're doing is probably the key to it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we appreciate it, man. Before we end it, can you tell just kind of where you should be found, what people should do to track you down and see all the nutrition information and guidance that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So easiest place to get a hold of me is on Instagram. That's where I spend the majority of my, I guess, social media time. So that's nutrition coach, all one word, _Adam. You can find me on Instagram there. Also, my website is arnutrition.net. And I do have like a private Facebook group. It's free for anybody to jump in there. So if anybody wants to hop in the Facebook group, I do a live weekly training, just a free training every Wednesday. I do that on Facebook in my group, and I also do that on Instagram. And also within my Facebook group, I kind of go back and forth. I do some Q&As, answer some questions, ask some fun questions, you know, try to like improve people's nutrition knowledge a little bit. So yeah, definitely hit me up on Instagram at nutrition coach _Adam. And then also, you know, if you want to get a link to the Facebook group, literally just send me a DM or whatever. Anybody who has any questions or whatever, just send me a DM through Instagram. And that's the place I'll see it first. And then if you want to get a little bit more info on what I do specifically, the website is probably a good place to start as well.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you, man.
Awesome.
We appreciate the time.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you.